Well, earlier I spoke to Professor Sir John Bell, who's Regius Professor of Medicine at the University of Oxford and oversaw the team behind the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine. I began by asking him about the concerns of some medics that delaying the second dose of vaccines here in the UK would make them less effective.
The decision to allow the gap to get longer was to allow us to vaccinate more people quickly. And to be clear, we're in a bit of a race against the variant strains of the virus and trying to get as many people vaccinated as quickly. So my view is that that was the right decision. I think we also know, and there's quite a history of this, that very often the longer the gap you have between the first and the second dose, the better the ultimate response is. And that certainly looks like it's likely to be the case with the AstraZeneca vaccine. And I think we'll get new data in the next week or two that'll confirm that.
So let's talk about the biggest threat then, these new variants. Do you remain confident that your vaccine works against the Kent variant, but are you still worried about the South African and Brazil variants?
Yeah, so I haven't finally seen the data even on the Kent variant, but I think the initial data looked rather promising that we were going to be okay. I think the big problem comes with South Africa and Brazil, because the changes in that particular virus are pretty profound, and they cover off almost the whole surface of the bit of the virus that's docking with ACE2, which is the receptor. So I think that could be quite difficult to neutralize, but it may well be that the vaccines are good enough to give us protection in the way we want it to. So again, you need clinical data. We're sort of hovering at the moment, because if we're going to make a new vaccine, we need to get our skates on. And so that, probably is something that we need to be thinking of now.
So the decision hasn't been taken yet whether to make a new vaccine?
Easy to make new vaccines. The real question is, we're only going to make one new vaccine. What exactly is the sequence of the protein that you put into the new vaccine? And there are many variants out there. There are literally dozens of variants. And so there has to be some decision about exactly which variant you make the new, because once you push the button, it's on a road. So it's a bit like influenza. Every year we have to make a new influenza vaccine, but someone has to decide what's the sequence of the new vaccine. And that's what we're trying to do now.
So the decision as to whether that new modified vaccine will be made will be taken within weeks?
Yeah, for sure.
And then once that decision has been taken, if it is a decision to make or modify the vaccine, when could people start to get that new vaccine in the UK?
Well, the turnaround time in these vaccines isn't very long. It's probably a couple of months. And then they have to be just slotted into the manufacturing. So, of course, it takes a bit of time to manufacture them at scale after that. But
could people be vaccinated with a modified vaccine come the autumn? Are we looking at next year?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Right. And as you wonder and worry about this new variant, how important is it that politicians take a decision on protecting the border, tougher restrictions at the border to stop these new variants coming in? How would that help you?
Well, look, there's going to be a whole cascade of these new variants. And this is a virus which is moved species. It used to live up the back end of a pangolin, and now it's moved to humans. And it's got to adapt to being in humans. And what we're seeing now is it's getting better and better and more efficient at living in humans. And we can see a set of other mutations coming down the line. So I think we mustn't say, oh, well, we now know what the mutation is going to look like. We don't. There's going to be a set of other ones. So we need to be in point position for this and need to be careful about making sure that the transport links just don't bring new variants in at scale.
So your plea to the cabinet?
Yeah, please be very tight about transport controls.
It is possible, isn't it, that there will eventually be a mutation which outwits the scientists, which outwits the immunologists?
No, look, we're smarter than the virus.
So glad to hear you say that. But what I suppose the question is, we're putting a lot of eggs in the vaccine basket. Should we be doing more to bring on new treatments? Because that could end up being just as important.
Yeah, so Kathy, this is a really, really important issue, and it's one I think a lot of people are thinking of now. We've not perhaps kept pace with the development of antiviral drugs. Remember, for a disease like HIV, we never got a vaccine. We never had an immunological solution, and yet we've got a really effective solution to that disease that gives people a normal lifetime. And we did it with antivirals. So we need to really push on the antiviral space now. Make some new antivirals. We need multiple ones because you can't use one at a time, but you can use cocktails. And that needs to be a major focus in the next few months. But we should get there. We've got lots of vaccine. We've got the NHS is really on it. So let's just keep calm.